got an idea. And we talked about this months and months ago. I remember I was saying this. I think the 4-year gap. First of all, we don't know exactly how it's going to start. Okay, one of my theories was that there will be, some type of whatever as far as showing what happened at the end of Kills. It might be a quick thing, or it might be a flashback or something. That's one of my biggest theories, at least that I'm holding on to. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But to me, as soon as we heard about the 4-year gap, and this was months ago, we could look back on old episodes. The 4-year gap is for Laurie.
Yeah.
The 4-year gap is for her to deal with the fact that Karen is dead. And in that article, I was so pumped up when I read the article, because I was about to text Jake. I was like, we called it. like Laurie, and she even said it. Jamie Lee Curtis was quoted saying, and man, you know what? I got to go back to one of our old episodes, because I literally almost said the same thing. Do you remember? Do you guys remember this?
Can you pull up the clip?
Listen.
Pull up the clip, yeah.
So Jamie Lee Curtis said she's done the work. She did the therapy, so forth and so forth. And Jamie Lee Curtis said, and I'm paraphrasing, but pretty much quote, saying she's not necessarily the positive young girl she was at 17, which was Halloween 78, but she is a more positive person. And I said almost the same exact thing, that this movie is going to depict her, at least for a good part of the movie, as totally the opposite of what we've seen. In other words, like her and Allison, and we still don't know specifically about Allison, but I had a feeling that Laurie was going to be more positive in life, or at least trying to deal with the trauma and trying to let go. She was paranoid, she was obsessed, she was, all those things, and it destroyed her life, her family's life, and now she realizes that she has to let go. So I think those 4 years is really for her to heal from Karen, and also, like she said, she's doing the therapy. We've speculated, is she going to have a closer relationship with Hawkins, so forth and so forth and so forth. So that 4 years isn't really for Michael. No, it's really for Laurie. And I think that what I'm hoping, and of course this kind of, we don't know, but I'm hoping that Jamie Lee Curtis has some really good weighty moments, based off of that,
But like I said, I understand that it's for the progress of Jamie. But one, we're not going to see the progress. We're just picking up 4 years later, it sounds like. But still, all of the open-endedness wasn't about Jamie. It was about Michael and the town and everything like that. That's my problem. If we had a conclusion to what happened, and it picked up 4 years later, and say Jamie thought, or not Jamie, Laurie thought, that Michael was dead or something like that. There was some end result, let's say they did the trap again, and this time nobody came to rescue. So everyone in the town thought Michael was dead, but Michael just, moseyed on into the woods or something like that. The town thinks all is good. Okay, I can understand that. But you didn't leave it like that. You left everything open-ended. You left us with an overly obsessed Laurie Strode. You left us with an overly obsessed Laurie Strode, who, yes, it's possible for her to get over that stuff, but that stuff takes time. And her daughter was just killed, which I imagine she finds out at some point that night. And we're not going to get any of those answers. She just says, what, my daughter? She's overly obsessed to the point of nothing else matters but killing Michael. And her daughter was just killed by Michael. You have Allison, who's ready to go to war with you. Everything like this entire town behind your back. And you're just going to say, you know what, let's let it go, let bygones be bygones. That's not the character they built these last two movies. I'm all for her being reformed and changed, but you should have concluded that arc of her and her obsession, and, or Karen, maybe Karen survives. I don't think so, but, maybe if she survived, that would make more sense. Look, I almost got my daughter killed. My family's safe, it's fine. But no, you have this overly, if you're somebody that wants, say, somebody kills your kid and just ruins your life, and you want revenge, and then another one of your kids is killed by the same person, you're not going to say, you know what, I shouldn't do the revenge. My third kid really needs. No, you're going to be even more obsessed, because now
you're going to dress up like Ghostface. You're going to go after.
But hopefully they will, and of course, but we don't know. They may, and I'm sure it's not going to be 25 minutes of the movie, but they might show her, maybe flashbacks, or maybe it'll start with that. The night Karen's dead. They ended Kills with Hawkins saying, It's not about you. We can't beat them with brute force. That's the wrong way. Yeah, all that stuff. Blah 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 blah. So, they might show her. I mean, she's writing memoirs, so that could be part of her therapy. And since they put that in the synopsis, that could be something that they show some scenes of. So, like I said, I think it could work. Obviously, it has to be executed correctly, but I think it could work because of the fact that it's for Laurie. And my whole thing, and what I still hope, I'm not sure though, but I hope that it gives Jamie Lee Curtis those moments to show, like at the dinner scene in 2018. That was fantastic stuff. That was a fantastic moment for Laurie Strode and for Allison too. And I'm hoping that we get some things similar to that to show her journey from total. She started to kind of come around on this obsession thing, but showing her go through that process on the spectrum of starting to try to let go, and even though she's writing memoirs and she's saying, moving past, the legacy of the shape, doesn't mean that she's fully, apples and ice cream. She could still have moments where she has a nightmare and wakes up and, or whatever. I don't know. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's how I'm interpreting the 4 years mostly, because this is going to be a much more intimate movie with Laurie. We're going to see her, like, kind of overcoming everything. The thing is, though, I don't think it's going to be one of those movies where it's like clean slate. Laurie is back to, oh yeah, everything's fine now. I'm right. I can live my life. I feel like it's going to be more of a take on how trauma is just always going to stick with you. Like, you can work as hard as you want to get over it, but it's like there's still that, like, it happened, it still lingers over you. It almost might be a metaphor for that in a sense of, like, maybe it appears as if she's gotten better, but it still bothers her to this day. It's just something she's going to have to live with for the rest of her life, and Michael physically coming back too would be kind of a metaphor towards that. I would like that, honestly. I feel like that would be good storytelling and a good representation of what trauma does to people. I think that could be cool, but it's once again one of those things that I just feel like comes down to execution. If they don't do it or write it the right way, there's something that just feels faulty, doesn't feel focused. I could see it not working big time, but we'll just have to see on October 14th, I guess.
I just don't see the point of, like, why write yourself into this corner? Like, this shouldn't even be a point of discussion.
I would like to think when we see it, I would like to think that there'll be a moment where we say, okay, I get why they did it. You know what I mean? I would like to think that, and it may not, and like
Look,
Jake said, it may not be.
Even more that Kills shouldn't have been a movie.
Stop it.
Oh, it's true.
Here we go.
Because,
not again. And then Halloween 2018 should have been 3.5 hours.
No, you could have made it like 2.5 hours, and then this one 2.5 hours.
I disagree. I feel like they set up a lot of things in Kills to be finished off in this.
Yes, but it doesn't sound like any of that stuff is going to be finished off.
I haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know.
We don't know that.
If we end up when Halloween ends, and they just don't, like, they just brush over everything, pick up, and just carry on business as usual, Halloween Kills did not need to be. That further cements that movie was pointless. Because you just left it, the whole thing open-ended. The whole thing. Like, there was not a definitive, conclusive moment in that entire movie. And now
you're something like that, though. I would argue that that's not a big deal. Doesn't always need a conclusion.
When it's a continuation of your trilogy, it is.
Yeah, but there's another movie. Like, if Halloween Kills was the last movie and it's just left off on that, I'd see being disappointed. But this is going to pick up 4 years after that, show you where our characters are in kind of a conclusive way,
Yeah, but what happened to all the aftermath? Again, that's what I'm saying. If
another thing that I feel doesn't need to be explained. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like
you don't want to know one of the biggest gripes we had was Sydney not getting a reaction to Dewey's death. We're not going to get a reaction to
two different franchises.
It's her daughter that they established.
Oh,
what
man.
do you mean?
That's completely
totally different. Yeah. Scream and Halloween are only similar by subgenre, in my opinion. I have very, very different opinions on both franchises.
So you're okay with them just brushing over Karen's death? Like, that's her daughter.
No, they won't brush over that.
I don't think they will either. No.
I don't think they will.
They will absolutely address that.
Let me ask you this. Let me just say this. I mean, again, I don't know. I could be 100% wrong, but it just seems to me that if there is no, like, if Laurie doesn't mention my daughter died, and
I'm sure
they don't
something in therapy or something, but I want to see a reaction.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is that it would really seem weird for her to just be like, yeah, Karen died, 4 years ago. Hey, what are we having for dinner, guys? You know what I mean? Like, I just can't imagine it's going to be like that. I just think that, and I don't know how they're going to do it, whether it's flashbacks or maybe it starts at that point and then it cuts to 4 years later. I have no idea. How they're going to do it. But I just can't imagine that they're going to write this movie or they have this movie set to go and Jamie Lee Curtis isn't going to acknowledge that Karen died and have some type of emotional reaction to that, in a scene or scenes, I just can't imagine that. Now,
what is the profound impact 4 years later? Like, what is the impact in that years and years later? Like, it's not the same thing as in the moment. Like, if.
But what if they start? What if they started off at the end of Kills or show the flashback?
Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do.
I don't think it's gonna.
That doesn't sound like what's gonna happen.
To me, I really like the idea. Like going back to the whole not over-explaining things. I feel like if you were to show us that, that's similar to forcing the mother character of Sam and Tara into Scream 6, where I feel like there's just no reason to put her into this plot line about them going off to college, being their own independent people. Why would you force a mother character into that? That doesn't make any sense. It's the same. It's the kind of the same thing with this. I feel like you can show the aftermath of that 4 years later about how she's still dealing with her daughter's death, how she couldn't keep her safe, but she's gotten over it with therapy, maybe a little bit, but not quite there, and she still talks to Allison about it. There could be a scene where she breaks down crying. She appears to look all nice and stuff, much better than how she has in the past two movies, but on the inside, she still feels broken. That, I feel like, conveys everything I need to know about what happened in 2018 after that night, and basically what happened with Karen. It kind of tells you how Laurie is feeling about all of it 4 years later. I wouldn't want them to linger on something like that for too long, because that could eat up a lot of screen time where we could be having something else happen to progress the plot of this movie and not stuff that's picking up the pieces from Kills, I guess is my point.